What's up, everybody? It's Tuesday at 4:20-ish, kind of. Actually, when you watch this, it won't be anymore. It'll be afterwards. But that's neither here nor there because we're still here with exclusive YouTube content,
Correct.
exclusive YouTube content,
Mm-hmm.
because we discovered that Cowboy Bebop absorbed so much of our nerdy news time that we're going to dedicate a second video every week just for you fine folks over at youtube.com/Rivet City Radio. This week's drop, we watched episodes 4 and 5
Mm-hmm.
of Cowboy Bebop, and I'm going to be honest. Episode 4, before we get into it, like last week, you asked me which was my favorite between 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 4 has been my favorite episode so far to date of all 5 episodes that I've
Really?
watched. Yeah, this was it was a lot of fun to watch. And
Yeah.
did you have a preference between these two?
I like 5 a lot, but 4 is really good as well, like without a doubt. And I'm really impressed that you picked up on it because it's so like almost out of pocket, but the writing is just like meh, but the direction is like spot on. Watanabe never like misses with his direction. So I'm really pleased to know that you liked the episode 4. What about it though did you like the most?
All right. When I was going through it, I was like, I'm going to try to take a little bit better notes. And then I feel like my notes just became Will notes again, even trying to take actual like notes. What I liked about 4 was it connected it did a good job of connecting pieces from the other shows, but without you having to have seen the other episodes for them to make sense.
Right.
And they did a good job of tying Faye in and the idea of the bounties and everything they've done so far to date. Episode 4 did everything they've done in Cowboy Bebop, and it was like executed flawlessly. They talked about the bounties and the ship and Spike and Jet's relationship and everything that happened. Like, this is the if this was of the 5 that I've seen, if somebody were to like tell me to watch a Cowboy Bebop episode, it would be this one because I feel like it gave you the best understanding of the universe.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I love like the eco soldiers, like when they threw that little like grenade, and then like the hologram showed up and was like, "We are here to preserve the life and ecosystem." And that shot happened while there's just a bunch of dead people like that were sitting there eating their fucking dinner. I also really liked how like Spike tries to smash the virus container, like, and to open to see what's inside, almost like a child or a teen, like tantrumy, like. And I think that's really like part of his character is that he's kind of like a moody teenager at times. And only Cowboy Bebop could set like a looming planetary genocide to some sick jazz.
The music never misses.
Yeah.
100%. I say it every time. This may be the best soundtrack for a TV show.
Yeah.
And when you would hear the music, you wouldn't think it would be for the show that it is. And
Right,
that's what makes
exactly.
it so good, because it's such a contradiction to what you would think would be an anime. And granted, I'm the novice here, but I wouldn't expect this much just throw down like acid jazz and big band music to fit so well with, fighting space cowboys.
Yeah, for sure. The whole like hyperspace sequence is like so well composed and drawn like beautifully. And all of a sudden it goes up like another level when they announce that the gates are being like shut down. I love how Bebop, it can like hold tension almost no matter what is going on. And it's such a tense sequence, but the best thing about it is the execution. That they don't give any like exposition about what happens if they don't make it out until afterwards.
This episode had a lot of like underlying tones, I felt like, as well, because when you at the beginning of the show, reintroduced to Faye, I said that she was stranded in space. I said that would scare the absolute shit out of me. I also like they ordered at the restaurant on an iPad. I said that's futuristic as fuck, but that's like everyday life for us now.
Right.
Getting to the restaurant massacre, In true Will Gray fashion, I've kept up with every bounty to this point.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, Maria is 25 million wulongs, which
Mhm.
makes her one of the highest bounties to date. But it's
Twinkle.
this weird thing. This is what I was talking about when Jet and Spike's relationship, though, because the first scene is them talking at the restaurant, and you realize that you're getting two stories at once because Maria is there with her group. Spike and Jet are there to get a different
Different
bounty.
whole person.
They're there
Yeah.
for a totally different fucking reason without realizing who she
And
is.
Jet's like, where do I know you? Like, I know
Yeah.
that lady.
They come in and just mow everybody down, and Jet's like, why does she look so familiar? And then
Right.
it finds out that, like, I said that she's a psyop. I
Mm.
was like, she's a psyop. She has to be a plant because she was like, I'll be right back. The cops are on the way. She didn't give a fuck about the
Yeah.
fact that she was caught. I was like, she's a government plant.
Yep.
And it turns out she fucking was.
Yeah. She's like, I'll be back to punish you, mama. So I
Yeah, that
think
was
like it's a really good episode. Like the it's like all we need to know that like that episode is like, okay, Faye is here. Faye is here to stay. And how she handled the money she took from Spike leaves the audience with a good idea how she'll impact the show. And also, like you said, they reveal a lot about the characters, even with Jet, like that he still has some like police connections from working with the ISSP. And we learn even stuff about the world like eco-terrorism, high school, and hyperspace science, all in like a 10-minute span. Rewatching it is crazy because it's like you pick up more on stuff that you didn't see before. And on the surface, it seems like a forgettable episode with an outlandish premise, but if you look closely, it actually projects some like relevant issues. Oh shit. Relevant issues that are found today.
I felt like the whaling. I immediately went to the whaling shit on. Hold on, I got you back up. There you are. Like the Discovery Channel with the people in the Japanese Sea and stuff, where they're the anti whalers and they're out there and they're graffitiing the boats and stuff. And I was like, this is very parallel to what's happening in the real world, sort of. Even now in 2024, we've got those socioeconomic people that, like, what are they called?
Like radical,
yeah, the radical
yeah,
environmentalist. There you go.
eco-terrorism, and yeah.
I thought that was kind of a cool homage to the real world because they took the space cowboys fighty stuff and then they applied it with something that you're like, oh shit, that's just like what is actually happening. So I thought that was cool.
And on top of that, it's just like been happening even in like the 90s when this was like released. So it's just like a always constant issue. I think it's cool how like Faye's chemistry with Spike and Jet in the episode seems like almost seamless. And you might almost forget that she literally was just introduced the previous episode. And she was on the opposite end of their line of work. It's like an uneasy alliance between them that brings out like the natural lighthearted banter, which the banter is always really good in that group dynamic. And there was a point where like when Jet was like trying to break the virus thing and Mama was trying to like keep a straight face, like straight poker face, and she's like, yo, chill. But overall, like I like how Cowboy Bebop is not afraid to like steep tonal shifts to showcase the show's mature feel to it.
Yeah, this definitely doesn't. And this may have been just a. Again, the only anime I've watched up to this point was Toonami shit. So Dragon Ball Z and Gundam. Those are always the two I go back to. So a lot of times when people think anime, they see the frilly frou-frou bright colored comics on the internet and without realizing what it is, because this very much watches like, especially episode 5, when we get to episode 5 and talk about it, this TV show watches like a drama that just happens to be animated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this could be a live action show and be convincible because of the way the stories, if this was taken from space and put in fucking Chicago, LA, or New York, any big metropolis, and you were convinced that this was a bounty hunter, these stories could be told in live action in any major city. And I
It's
like
funny
that
that
about it.
you say that, because I'm very interested. Like, after we're done watching, I'm like, okay, what is he gonna think of the live action version that Netflix put out? Personally, I'm always like, if it's animated for a reason. That's like my slogan, my tagline. But I'm very curious to know what you think of the casting for each character, and like how you think it translates from anime to live action.
I almost put the trailer for it on the show today, and I decided not to because I don't know anything about the live action, and it's been out for so long, it's not topical now, so I'm not going through and worrying about spoilers. So I almost want to go into it blind. Now that I've learned who Jet and Spike and Faye and some of these characters are, and the more I develop into it, I'm like, I don't know if I want to see it ahead of time because I don't want to get a bias because I watched the cartoon first or the anime first and then look at the live action and go, that sucks, even without giving it a chance, because I didn't know what to expect, honestly. And now 5 episodes in, I say it with every show I watch. If by the 4th or 5th episode, I'm not sure I want to continue watching, I'll usually cut it off by this point. And I'm intrigued enough now that I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to keep watching. If you looked at me today and was like, hey, we're not doing this, I'd be like, fine.
You're like, okay, well, I'm going to keep watching.
Yeah, I'll finish at least. I'm stuck enough now to at least hone in for the first season. We'll finish. Like, I'm that intrigued by it. And
well, luckily for you, there is only one season, a total of 26 episodes. So it's a short anime, which is why I started with it, because I didn't want to like put you in like a 7-season situation.
Okay, see, I didn't even know that. That makes me super excited because we could probably pound this out in another month or two then, because I think it's doable. That's exciting. I didn't realize, not that it's only one season, because that's kind of sad, because I'm like, what the fuck's going to happen?
It is actually very sad. It's very sad because it was canceled, so you will never truly get what you want, but still it's still going to be a good ride for sure.
The last few notes I have for Gateway Shuffle, I wrote down literal space docking. I can die happy now. Because that's like the way they like spiraled together and everything. That's always in every person's like dirty joke repertoire is space docking, and they even made it a point to make it look phallic. So I was like, thank you for that. Thank you.
That's what I always wanted.
Maria, Mama, she's a sociopath, and for some reason I'm like, do I love this gilf? Like, would I be one of the little hair like rat people? Like, would I be one of the little rat people?
That's perfect. I love that for you.
I wrote down, oh no, hyperspace.
Oh no, hyperspace.
Because they were like, she's in hyperspace. And I was like, oh no, hyperspace.
Oh no, hyperspace.
And then you never get tired of space fights. Every episode so far has had a really badass
dog fight
scene or dog
fight.
Yeah, any type of fight scene. This one gave us both. It gave us a massacre in the restaurant to open, and a really dope ass like fight scene in space to end it. So I was like, this one was so far everything that I would expect in a Cowboy Bebop episode. And as we turn the page and get ready for episode 5, this was the opposite of episode 4 for me.
It honestly is one of my favorite episodes.
Okay. So, episode 5, Ballad of Fallen Angels. I wrote the word drama like 6 times in my notes because I was like, this is just right off the rip. The first fight scene, because they always give you that cold open, then the credits and everything happens. If Spike were here, you would have never done this.
Yeah.
No idea who the fuck that person is, who the blonde madman is yet. Like, I'm like, who the fuck are these people? But
it's a lot of questions. Yeah,
you wouldn't have done it if Spike was there. I do know Spike, and I really doubt you would have, killed his homeboy if he were standing there. So I agree, but I was like, from the rip, this episode was just nothing but drama. I feel like this one gave you the best idea of who Spike was. They made him look human. They made him act human. he knew he was walking into a trap and didn't give a fuck. It was all like,
it
what
was
made
almost like a easy, like not an easy, but like a way to understand why he is the way he is now. But the fact that he is human, like you said, he does have some skellies in his closet, you know.
the
For sure.
callback to the rose, because you see the red rose a lot, and this time they gave it to you with the bright red in the middle, and I was like, these are all, some of these dark chilling things you'll see in the credits or in the intro and stuff are all callbacks to why Spike is Spike.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I liked that. The episode itself wasn't the most action packed for me, but
Yeah.
again, I think it wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah,
Because
it's like more of a some more background on who Spike is and why he is the way he is. It's this episode is one of my favorites. It's beautiful. It's like, I already like the art and design of the previous sessions, which I like how they call them sessions.
yes.
It's really like realistically drawn anime. And the episode always blows me away with the beauty and detail with the animation. Like, you can pause it at any point, from when Spike is walking to the cathedral or on, and just frame it. You could pause it at any point. So even just now, like watching it again, I would pause just to look at the frames because they're really great. It's like the real character development starts in this episode. Like, sure, we've learned like bits and pieces about these characters, but this episode really starts to flesh out like who they are. It's the first time we see Spike and Jet get into a fight, and you can really see Jet being that Papa Bear, big brother type figure who's been through shit and doesn't want to see Spike go through the same shit. Like, he's learned those lessons and wants to prevent Spike from having to learn them. But you know, you have to learn them to know. You can tell that they're more than just like business partners. Like, Jet really cares about Spike, and even when he knows what Spike is doing is reckless and stupid.
I definitely agree. I think you kind of see that as well, where Jet and Faye's relationship. He's warming at the very beginning. I was like, dude, Jet hates Faye. Those 3 words written down. And by the end of the episode, I was like, maybe he doesn't hate her. Maybe, you know, like maybe he has walls up or whatever the niche trendy term is for it. You know, like maybe he's like, this bitch has already robbed us once. I don't want her to rob us again, but she's starting to seem cool. Like, I like the way it's not just plug and play. You know what I mean? They're developing that relationship because Spike is very nonchalant. Spike, he doesn't get, he gives a shit without giving a shit. And I think that's why I like him, because I give a shit, but without giving a shit. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
The subtle art of not giving a fuck.
Yeah, it's
like,
subtle.
You choose when to give a fuck, and when you do give a fuck, it's passionate and it's crazy. And we saw a lot of that here. Because up until this point, Spike is that oblivious idiot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's walking around and he stumbles into successes. You know what I mean? He's really great at what he does but we really don't know why. You know, and like this gave us a lot of the insight as to why Spike is Spike. And I did not expect to get this deep about a fucking anime, Hex. Like, I just didn't. Like, it makes me want to go back and rewatch some of the ones that I have now too. Like, when I finish this, it's like I'm excited to watch other ones, because looking at it from this perspective, I'm like, okay, like this is a good genuinely good drama.
Yeah, it is.
But it's
like
an anime, it's a cartoon, it's animation,
right?
You know,
right? It's like when people are like, oh, it's animes for kids only anime and animation. I'm like, well, and maybe in the West that's been the case for a long time until like the most recent years, and even still in recent years, it's been like stupid humor, not like anything of substance, not really until like actually very recently, but when it comes to Cowboy Bebop, it's like a good place to bring someone as like you to see how the range of animation can bring to the table. One of the things I liked was Annie. She takes no shit she gives the most accurate assessment of Spike. She literally said, I wrote down, you've never listened to anyone in your whole life. And on top of that, you are a stubborn show off. And I feel like that came from someone who really knows and has experienced his stupidity and show offness. And, you know, it makes you wonder why he is that way.
That's something only someone who genuinely loves you could say it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, because people could say you're a show off and you're like, I don't give a fuck. But the way she said it, you're like, oh, like she knows this motherfucker.
Yeah. Like another thing that we get from that conversation is how much Spike cared about Mal, just from his facial expressions, which is a feat in animation, you know, like just to be able to change one thing about his posture and it gives that effect. He has like a smug look on his face that looks like a teenager getting lectured by a parent. But as soon as she starts talking about how Mal looked for Spike, after he faked his death, his expression changes and he looks more serious and a little bit sad as well. I like Spike because he's like, his emotions, he tries to hide them from everyone. But when something really matters to him, he can't help but show it. And he's just a very human type of character. He's not perfect by any means.
No. This episode stayed in very on brand, though. We still got lots of dead bodies. Even in a theater, there were dead bodies. Spike kept his piece in a fridge, which seems weird to me that he pulled a loaded gun out of his refrigerator. That seemed odd. He was pulling, it was like that scene in a movie where, have you ever seen Boondock Saints?
No, actually I haven't.
Okay. Well, any movie where they're gearing up and you know some shit's about to go down and they're like dumping guns out on the tables and stuff. When I saw Spike doing this, I was like, we're reaching the point where this man doesn't give a fuck. Like he's dumping out grenades and loading guns. And even Jet was like, where are you going with with the whole armory? Like what's going on?
Literally, what's happening?
Yeah.
You want to talk about it, buddy? Like, come on.
They talk it out. Spike admits and knows he's walking into a trap. Doesn't give a fuck.
You think you
all of it? Could I do that?
Would you walk into a trap knowing it's a trap? Like what you would?
Yeah, I think I there are some things in my life that if people were like, this is, you know, like in that situation, you know what I mean? Like one chance, this is the only shot you got, even if you know it's a trap. But if you're successful, the bad shit's not gonna happen. Like, yeah, I'd do it. I wouldn't care. Like,
yeah, I feel that.
Or I would care so much that I would take the shot. You know what I mean? Like, however you want to look at it.
I think there are like other things in this episode that you can't possibly know. You, especially as a new viewer, like can't possibly know the significance of until at least the second time that you watch it. And the fact that there are things that only make sense the second time around really shows the amount of trust that they put into us, the viewer, like that we would come back and rewatch this. It's the rewatchability is very high with this show. And of course it wouldn't be Bebop without like incredible music. Once again, the show as a whole, and this session is no exception, does an incredible job with music. The music is never just there to be there. Like it always sets the mood of what's coming or what's about to happen or what is happening. Like it is a part of the show. It's not like, let's put some music in here because it's quiet, or like some music would look good here. Like each piece has been selected for each moment. So it's truly a marriage of animation and music together.
My favorite thing about it is probably right now, other than my two favorite things, the music, without a doubt. You're absolutely right. They're using the music as a puzzle piece to tell their story. And I think that's more important than it just being background music or a soundtrack. Yeah. The other side is the show is shot and framed like an action movie. And I appreciate that. And you don't see that a lot in animation. You know what I mean? Like, again, and maybe this is just my novice approach into filmmaking, but it's like you can tell that they took the time to storyboard every shot on how they wanted it to look and what they were going to get out of it. And to me, even in the 90s, how important that is. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, again, I don't want this to be a slight towards animation, but
Yeah, for
sometimes
sure.
it's a totally different world than a live action movie specifically. This is an animated action movie.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for
They
sure.
took, again, and I said it in episode 4 and again for this one, this would have been a Law and Order SVU. Like that's
Yeah.
what this episode could have been. This episode could be a Law and Order unit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like Spike's, or like, why is Spike the way he is, and all the drama that unfolded to get him here. All in an anime. I did
Yeah.
not fucking see it coming. Because the first 3 episodes that we've seen so far have all been, you know, Spike and Jet get into some shenanigans because they're space cowboys, right?
Yeah.
That was what I was assuming. Episode 4 was a action movie, and episode 5 was a 20-minute dramatic short film.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty
And
much.
now I'm like, neither of these episodes were anything like the first 3 episodes. And now that I'm getting deeper into the series, I'm like, what is episode 25 going to look like then?
Right. Where are we going with this?
Yeah.
What's gonna happen? But the one last thing for me is like about the Ace of Spade card that Faye draws in the beginning of the episode when did you write that down?
I wrote it down.
And Spike draws again at the very end of the episode, so it comes full circle. And in tarot card readings, like the Ace of Spade cards is in fact the death card. But in tarot card readings, the death card is meant to represent a significant change. Not like literal death, but like the death, the ego death, like the death of a former lifestyle or manner of thinking. And I feel like that resonates a lot with this episode and Spike himself.
I noticed I wrote down at the beginning of the episode that the card fell down, and I wanted to make sure I knew what card it was, because I knew that they wouldn't have taken the time to animate it, the whole process, then cutting away, then cutting back to Faye picking it up. I was like, there's a reason why that card, like, why they did it. So I wrote it down. So I was glad that you brought that back up.
Yeah. If anything, this show is not a show that does anything on, there's no like filler. Like everything is happening for a reason. So it's good. That's why I like rewatching it and paying attention the second time is like, whoa, like, oh my gosh.
I almost feel like I'm watching it too analytical for my first watch, but I'm really glad that I'm being this analytical.
I agree. I'm very impressed.
Because I was like, they wouldn't have animated the whole process and then her turning away and her attention going somewhere and then her picking up the card again. You know what I mean? If it was just the cards falling, it would have been the whole deck. They specifically like put emphasis on that one card for a reason. So yeah. And then last thing I wrote down was more drama. Because Spike got shot and thrown through a wall. And I was like, we found out at the beginning, or when he was talking with Annie, that apparently he's already died once and got brought back, or everybody thought he was dead anyways. And I'm like, so this isn't a unstoppable human being anymore. You also kind of felt like Spike was untouchable, and this is the first time he's kind of got his ass handed to him.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's episode 4 and 5. Of the 2, was 4 your favorite?
Episode 4 is my favorite episode of all 5 so far, and 5 is a very close second.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, they were very different episodes for very different reasons, but I feel like episode 4 gave me everything I was looking for, but with it turned up.
Yeah.
Like you can tell these first couple episodes were pilots. And now they know they've got the first season on lock, what they're doing, the story they're going with it. Like I can definitely see it coming. So oh yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us. I'm going to plug everything. Remember to follow at twitch.tv/Rivet City Radio. Remember to follow youtube.tv/Rivet City Radio. You can always see me and Hex every Tuesday at 4:20 Eastern Standard Time to talk about all that nerdy news. And that's it, guys. I
Yeah.
appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with us.
Love you.